It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Atlanta Braves. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Tuesday evening to you, wherever you may be. Game 2 of the 3-game series and the final series of this current homestand. The Braves arrive 4.5 games behind Washington, 2 games back of the New York Mets. They're a ball club that does well, except playing teams above 500. They are 11 of 15 losses in their books when they play those kinds of teams, and they're playing one tonight, the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers, with 20 wins at home, will wrap up this series tomorrow night before going out on the road, where they're 7-11. The pitching matchups: Julio Teheran, a young fella from Cartagena in Colombia. He has a record of 4-1, coming off his best start this year when he went out against the Milwaukee Brewers. Last year, by the way, Teheran was a 14-game winner. They hooked up, did Kershaw and Teheran, once last year. Kershaw won the ball game, and it was a tough game. Dodgers won it 2-1. Clayton Kershaw with a record of 2-3, trying to balance his books. That's the only record he has against Atlanta. The Dodgers having won 20, trying to conclude on a happy note tonight and tomorrow. And, of course, the Braves trying to get well as they chase the Washington Nationals. So stay tuned. Pull up a chair. We've got a big ball game coming up and a whole lot more right after this.
Dodger Stadium. With a win today or tomorrow, the Dodgers can win their third consecutive series over the Atlanta Braves. Hello, everybody, and welcome inside Dodger Stadium. A lot of news around Dodger Stadium today with the speculation that Juan Uribe may be traded to the Atlanta Braves. MLB insider Ken Rosenthal reporting that the deal with the Braves and the Dodgers is back on. It is a 6-player deal that would send Juan Uribe to the Atlanta Braves in exchange for Alberto Callaspo, who has actually waived his right to be able to be traded before June 15th. We'll certainly have more for you as we get that information. Time now for our T-Mobile Game Changer. This is what Juan Uribe has done as a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers since 2011. 407 games, a .260 average. That doesn't jump out at you, but certainly his OPS does. 28 home runs. Juan Uribe has driven in 155 as a member of the LA Dodgers. We will see what happens, whether he's going to continue to be a Dodger or become an Atlanta Brave. John.
On Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Disneyland. Get ready to be dazzled during the Disneyland Resort Diamond Celebration, happening now with spectacular new entertainment and more. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Tuesday evening to you, wherever you may be. Welcome to Dodger Stadium. Nice evening, slightly on the cool side, but otherwise perfect. Couple of scratches in the sky showing a little blue in the background. Lights are on. They've been on for a while, and we're about ready with the prospect of a very good game. Julio Teheran, the right-hander for Atlanta, and Clayton Kershaw for the Dodgers. For Atlanta, they've lost 11 of 15 against good teams, above 500. They are 4.5 games behind Washington. Freddie Gonzalez lineup starts up with Jace Peterson at second, Maben in center, Freeman at first, Markakis in right. Gomes in left, Simmons in short, Siriaco at third for the announced Alberto Callaspo. Yes, you heard us say that yesterday. Same story again tonight, so perhaps something is really cooking this time. The catcher, Christian Bethancourt, and the pitcher, Julio Teheran. On the mound for the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw, suffering in some respects what happens to every great athlete. His greatest competitor becomes himself. Last year, Clayton was 21-3. He's already lost 3 games this year, and people don't understand it. The first pitch to Jace Peterson, in for a strike. One thing, and you have to watch early in the count. Here's the strike 1 pitch on the way, and Peterson swings at it, doesn't get it. We talk about that, but on that 0-1 count this year, the batters are hitting .412. 0-2 is another story. But anyway, that's the problem for Clayton Kershaw. He comes back 0-2, and the pitch is down and away, ball 1. Jace Peterson, good second baseman, runs like the wind, and Kershaw in the early going, all concentration. The 1-2 pitch on the way, check swing on a pitch down and away for strike 3. So Peterson going after a pitch out of the strike zone, and we have 1 down here in the first inning. Take a look at the Dodgers with the leather behind Kershaw. No dramatic changes. Gonzalez and Kendrick and Rollins and Turner. Alex Guerrero, the pinch hit home run yesterday, he's in the lineup tonight, along with Jock Peterson and Andre Ethier. Clayton's buddy A.J. Ellis behind the plate, and here is Cameron Maybin. So Maybin, long-legged center fielder, runs like the wind and has to get away from a pitch at the knuckles. Ball 1, 1-0. Maybin enters the game with 99 stolen bases. Talking about 9, he had a 9-game hitting streak snap last night. Takes a high strike, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Maybin in yesterday's game 0 for 3 with a walk and scored a run. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Kershaw right back low, ball 2. 2-1 the count. The last time that Clayton Kershaw pitched in San Francisco, he was up against Madison Bumgarner, who got the win, and Clayton was charged with 4 runs. Tonight he's up against maybe a lesser known but a very good Julio Teheran. The pitch is popped up in foul ground. It's a third baseman coming down, and that's Justin Turner to make the catch. So Maybin fouls out to Turner. 2 down here in the first inning, and the batter will be Freddie Freeman. Now Freeman against Kershaw has done pretty well, as you would expect. He does pretty well against everybody. 2 for 6 with a home run. Again with Freeman, that first pitch is so important. He's a better hitter actually when he's behind in the count. Kershaw ready. Clayton delivers. Swung on, foul back. Okay. The count is 0-1. As the count goes deeper, Freeman battles from behind early and usually goes on to hit about 365 with 4 home runs. When the count starts 1-0 in his favor, he's hitting just 222. Strike 1 pitch on the way, and the left-hand batter takes over his head. 1 ball and 1 strike. Dodgers won all 3 games against Atlanta here last year. They won yesterday. So if they win tonight, they'll have a 5-game winning streak at home against Atlanta. That's fouled away. The Dodgers would be a first 5-game homestand against the Braves since June of 1990. That's right. 25 years ago. Freddie Freeman waiting on a 1-2 count. Kershaw ready, left-hand to back, breaking ball, got him swinging that big slow curveball. So 2 strikeouts in the first inning, and at the end of half an inning, Atlanta nothing, and the Dodgers coming out. Shaw makes 12 pitches and strikes out 2, the other a pop foul. So a good strong first inning. And now let's take a look at Mattingly's lineup, and we'll see just how good and strong that is. Jock Peterson opening up in center field, and Jimmy Rollins at short. Howie Kendrick at second, Adrian Gonzalez at first. Justin Turner at third base, Andre Ethier in right, Alex Guerrero in left, A.J. Ellis, and then Clayton Kershaw. On the mound, Julio Teheran, 6'2", maybe 170-pounder. He's from Cartagena in Colombia. He's 24 years old. Give you an idea of why he wants to succeed. For 12 years, the Teherans, that would be 10 family members, including young Julio, they shared a rundown one-story home. They had a single toilet located in a muddy backyard. So you can imagine now, the family ran a small store out of one of the rooms. So he's hungry and very talented. Snakes a fastball in there for a strike, and the count 0-1. Jock Peterson starting it off. Jock hitting .250. Teheran turns again. Skinny right-hander, then works the next pitch inside, and the count 1-1 strike. Teheran last year a 14-game winner, and they think he's going to be a lot better than that. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way, and that's a ground ball to the hole, backhanded by Simmons. He's got a strong arm and throws out Peterson. So Andrelton Simmons makes a nice play to take care of Peterson, one away. Here are the Braves defensively with Freeman and Peterson on the right side, Simmons, Siriaco on the left, with Gomes, Maben, and Markakis in right. Bethancourt is the catcher, Teheran the pitcher. So Jimmy Rollins coming up. Jimmy joined in the home run fund yesterday, hitting a home run. Talking about home runs, Teheran has allowed, like so many Brave pitchers, 9 home runs. Teheran turns on the rubber. Lanky right-hander's fastball just off the plate, ball 1. Want to see it again or hear about it? Well, Jimmy Rollins jerked one out against Nick Massett into the bleachers just inside the foul pole and the bullpen gate. Ground ball smothered, a diving stop by Peterson, but he's too late with his throw. Jimmy Rollins makes himself a base hit with his extra speed. So a great effort by Jace Peterson. They have Jace and Jock, and base hit. So Jace smothering the ball on the grass and on his knees got the throw. Rollins hitting left-handed, able to outleg it. So a great effort to no avail. And now the batter is Howie Kendrick. So Teheran pitching out of a stretch. Julio looks over at first at Rollins. Now the right-hander works the plate, and it's down and away, ball 1. 1-0 the count. Kendrick has a look at Lorenzo Bundy. .333 career hitter at Dodger Stadium and hitting .293 right now. He knows all about Teheran. Fastball, slider, curveball, and change. Right-hander ready. Another look over at Rollins. And the 1-0 pitch on the way. Teheran delivers and pushes it off the plate, ball 2. 2-0. His fastball has been clocked as high as 97. They say the slider is only decent. Well, he has a terrific curveball, and the word was used in describing it, a devastating changeup. Fastball foul back at 90. 2-1 the count to Howie Kendrick. Teheran with a record of 4-1. He is 26-14 at night. He is 7-9 in the daytime. He is a perfect 3-0 with an earned run average of 1.8 pitching in Atlanta. He's 1-1 with an earned run average of 5.8 on the road. 2-1 pitch waved at and missed. That was off speed. 2-2 the count. Right-hand batters hitting .228 against him. Left-handers .364. First time through the lineup, the opposition hitting just .239 against him. 2-2 pitch on the way. Rollins bluffs and the pitch is low, ball 3. So Rollins checking on a 3-2 count with Kendrick at the plate. Howie Kendrick, in looking at his numbers, has struck out only 30 times. So that tells you they might very well be running Rollins. 3-2 pitch. Rollins sure goes, and the pitch is a strike. The throw down, a tag, got him. So a nice throw by Bethancourt. Caught looking. Howie Kendrick, and exposed naked unto the world is Jimmy Rollins. So no runs, a base hit, nobody left. And at the end of an inning, no score. It figures to be a good ball game with Clayton Kershaw going up against Julio Teheran. Nick Markakis, who rarely swings at the first pitch, he will lead it off. Left-hand batter. They have it figured that he'll swing at the first pitch maybe 10, 13 times the most. He has 49 hits without a home run, but he has hit as many as 23 home runs when he was with Baltimore. Kershaw into the windup. The left-hand batter has a look and rarely fouled it off, and that's what he did. So Markakis going after the first pitch. One reason the numbers we told you earlier. First pitch in play, it has been trouble for Clayton Kershaw. Markakis had serious neck surgery, so they don't figure his power has come back yet. He takes a little low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Nick, an odd record, and yet it deserves recognition. 4 straight years he hit 43 or more doubles a year, joining 2 great Hall of Famers. He takes a breaking ball off the plate. The 2 Hall of Famers, Joe Medwick, famously with the Cardinals, and Tris Speaker with Cleveland. 2 balls and 1 strike. Kershaw working quickly, back with a pitch fouled away outside of third, down the line. 2-2 to Nick Markakis. So Clayton Kershaw had a 12-pitch first inning when he struck out 2. Markakis, as far as his strikeouts are concerned, only 27 times. He rarely swings and misses. Let's see about that. 2-2 pitch, swung on, hit in the air into left center. Coming over in a hurry is Alex Guerrero to make the catch. So Markakis, fly ball to left, and we have 1 away.
Left fielder, number 7, Johnny Gomes.
Johnny Gomes will be coming up. We were talking about John yesterday, and you really have to doff your cap to him. He had such a tough time growing up, all kinds of agonizing events. We talked yesterday about the wolf and also that terrible automobile accident when he lost his best friend. John at the plate. Kershaw delivers slow and low. Ball one. 1-0 to Johnny Gomes. Gomes hitting .271, 3 home runs, 9 runs batted in. There was another time where he was seriously burned in a fire. 1-0 pitch on the way. John takes low. 2-0 the count. So Johnny's been through it all. He's from Petaluma. He'll be 35 in November. 6'1", 225. Now the 2-0 pitch. Gomes takes on the inside corner for a strike. 2-1. So Kershaw trying to move along with 1 out, second inning, no score. The 2-1 pitch to Johnny Gomes. Clayton delivers, and this one in there. 2-2. When Gomes was 15, he went to bed upstairs in a house without central heating. He had a sleeping bag. He lit a candle, went to sleep. Candle had burned through as Gomes strikes out, and eventually he almost burned to death. So Gomes, a strikeout means nothing at all after what he's been through. And with 2 down here in the second inning, 3rd strikeout for Clayton Kershaw.
Number 19, Andrelton Simmons.
Andrelton Simmons coming up. Simmons, the shortstop with a good arm, struggling with the bat. Last few games doing okay, but he's got him .249 in the first pitch of the backstop. Ball one. Simmons had an infield single in the 9th inning yesterday, wound up going 1 for 4. He's hit into a dozen double plays. That'll change your mood immediately. The 1-0 pitch on the way. Andrelton swings, ground ball to the deep hole. Long throw by Rollins right there. So the Braves go 1-2-3, and at the end of an inning and a half, no score. First 40,000 fans in attendance receive a Jock Peterson t-shirt presented by Edmunds. For more information, go to Dodgers.com/promotion. No score, bottom of the second inning. It'll be Adrian Gonzalez looking for his 1,000th career run batted in, followed by Justin Turner and then Andre Ethier. So Gonzalez hitting .344, 9 home runs, 33 runs batted in. Julio Teheran standing up on the rubber, looks down to get a sign, and into the bottom of the second inning we go. Teheran into his windup, and the first pitch to Adrian off the plate, ball 1, 1-0. You know what happened yesterday, and I can't get it out of my mind. Tonight, just a minute ago, we introduced our military hero of the game. 1-0 pitch on the way, change high, ball 2, 2-0. Yesterday, they introduced the military hero of the game. He was a captain in the United States Army, and he stood at attention while the crowd gave him great applause. The 2-0 pitch, low, ball 3. And at the very last second, before he walked off the field, and you had to really be watching to see it, suddenly he brought a 5x7 picture up to his chest, only for a second, and then walked away. The 3-0 pitch in there. That picture was of several rifles dug into the ground, erect, with a helmet on top of each one. And that picture has stayed in my head ever since. 3-1 pitch on the way is another strike. 3-2. Julio Teheran. We were talking about his splits. Tell you a little bit more about him. Gonzalez waiting. Julio, long look in. Bethancourt shuffling the cards. Most of his strikeouts, 43 of 47, the hitter has been swinging. So he hasn't fooled hitters as much as they have aggressively tried to go after him. Here's the 3-2 pitch on the way. Teheran delivers a little comebacker, knocked down by Teheran, picks it up and throws him out. So down goes Gonzalez, 1 away. And now Justin Turner. We're always interested in watching a pitcher and to see how he develops when he has his problems. Well, the first thing about him, from 1 to 15, the opposition is hitting 194. From 16 to 30, and he's just made 17 pitches. From 16 to 30, the opposition has hit 333. Oh, we'll see. Justin Turner takes a slider for a strike. 0-1. Justin done such a tremendous job, hitting 300 in May and 289 overall. Backs away on a pitch that almost hit him, but not quite. Then looking at Teheran, he has hit 4, given up 9 home runs. Latest in Milwaukee, the Giants are leading the Brewers 5-3 in the 7th inning. 1-1 pitch, check swing, swing, says the first base umpire, Paul Nauert. With the Giants leading, that's a Madison Bumgarner. And Bumgarner, 6 innings, has allowed 3 runs, 4 hits, and 2 walks. So we'll keep an eye on it. Giants begin 2 games back of the Dodgers. The 1-2 pitch coming up to Justin Turner. Check swing on a pitch up around the eyes. And they count 2 balls and 2 strikes. Right-hand batters hitting only .228 against him as Teheran looks over the fingertips of his glove. Now the 2-2 pitch on the way, off the plate, fastball at 93. Giants just picked up another run, so they're in the 7th inning and they're leading now 6-3. Teheran just runs that fastball outside. So he went 3-2 to Gonzalez, comes right back 3-2 to Justin Turner. Right-handed delivers, looked like a breaking ball, but off speed, and the count remains 3-2. Everybody very high on Teheran as Andre Ethier waits on deck. Julio long look. Bethancourt shuffling cards. 3-2 pitch. Fastball hit in the air to dead center. Going back is Maben, but plenty of room. Cameron waits, one-hands it. And we have 2 down in the second inning. We'll have to watch and see how many times he does it.
Right fielder,
Tehran,
number 16.
when he got deep into the count, 3-2, he stops in his delivery, looks down at the ground almost as if to collect himself, and then makes the pitch. Let's see if he does that, or does he only do it 3-2. Andre Ethier, 2 for 3 Monday, including the home run. Last 2 weeks hitting .368, though his average up to .313. Not as much of a hesitation on the first pitch inside, ball 1. For the Andre Ethier Marching and Chowder Society, fastball down, and he deposited that in center field, right near the hitting background. 1 ball and no strikes. Tehran again now hesitates a little more. The 1-0 pitch off speed for a strike, and the count 1-1. We mentioned earlier the Braves think so highly of him. They signed him through 2019 with an option for 2020. 1-1 pitch, slider down and in, ball 2, 2-1 the count. He has been wild, walking about 9% of his hitters. Had 8 strikeouts in his last game against Milwaukee. 2-1 pitch, fastball, ground ball to the right side. Peterson slips to his knee, but still makes the play. So Jace Peterson moving over to the right, slipped a bit. He's quite a good second baseman. And the Braves are out in order. Dodgers go out in order, and at the end of 2, no score. Score, Clayton Kershaw has struck out 3 in the first 2 innings. Started with a slider down away, came back with a great curveball, and one more time another solid curveball. And the question is, how much does he rely on the curveball? Well, to take one look, the hitters are batting .143 against Clayton Kershaw's curve. Then you have John Lester, Tom Kohler, Jeb Locke, and A.J. Burnett. Well, he leads the pack with that vicious curveball. So, going to work. It'll be Pedro Ciriaco, then Christian Bethancourt. And the first pitch, fastball very high. 1 ball and no strikes. Ciriaco, 2 games in a row, is suddenly inserted into the starting lineup just before the games begin. The 1-0 pitch swung on and missed. Yesterday, Alberto Callaspo was in the lineup, taken out for Siriaco. Same thing tonight, and just a few minutes before the game starts each time. Well, there's been a lot of talk, but that's all it's been so far about a possible trade. Good bunt. Kershaw down to get it. Hesitates, throws, and got him. Clayton Kershaw, a very good fielding pitcher. Boy, was that close. I don't know how Adrian Gonzalez could see the ball, but somehow he did. Kershaw going after it, picks the ball up with his glove, then almost slipped, recovered, throws low, and somehow on his right knee, Adrian stayed with it. There's the slip if you're watching on TV, and Adrian stayed with it. So Kershaw makes a wonderful play. Good bunt by Siriaco. And we have one down. The batter now, Christian Bethancourt, the young catcher, and they are very high on him. Right-hand batter, Bethancourt takes ball 1. 1-0. In fact, those who know the situation better in Atlanta say this is a ball club they are figuring will constantly improve. It's a young team. Bethancourt swings, doesn't get it. 1-1. And they're really pointing for the new stadium in Atlanta. And they like to have the club really come of age when that stadium is ready. 1-1 pitch on the way. And Bethancourt takes a changeup for a strike. Wow. A 73-mile-an-hour change. And the boy from Panama, Christian Bethancourt, locked in for the moment. 1-2 pitch. Fastball, and it's hit foul down the right field line. So from that 70s change to a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Bethancourt, impressive looking. He's 6'2", he's 210. He's only 23. He'll be 24 in September. He was a big man in the Panamanian Little League. Takes over his head. In fact, in 2004, that Little League World Series team was represented by Panama. Reached the finals. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Kershaw ready. Here he comes. Fastball, a comebacker. This time Clayton runs halfway before throwing to Gonzalez. And we have 2 down in the 3rd inning. Kershaw has retired 8 in a row. And the batter will be Julio Teheran. Julio Teheran has 2 hits, both singles. He has 2 runs batted in. What catches your eye, he's had 14 at-bats. He's had 4 sacrifices, and he has struck out once. So that's 18 plate appearances and 1 strikeout. Kershaw's first pitch on the inside corner. Good fastball. 0-1. Clayton really working in a hurry. I mean, he doesn't wander off the rubber at all. He's ready to come right back. Strike 1 pitch swung on. Pop fly into shallow center. Here comes Peterson. So Jock had to come a long way. Again, Teheran handy with the bat. Makes contact. So that's 9 in a row retired. And at the end of 2.5 innings, no score. Kershaw to his own thoughts. He's retired 9 in a row. He has struck out 3. He has made a total of 35 pitches. And he knows he's up against a tough opponent, Julio Teheran. He outpitched Julio last year, and the final score was 2-1. So Kershaw waits. He'll be batting third in the inning. Guerrero and Ellis will start it off. Julio Teheran last time against Kershaw, it was the end of July. He went 8 innings. He struck out 9. Kershaw in that game also struck out 9. Alex Guerrero will start it off. Guerrero with the pinch hit home run, which is pretty miraculous when you think about it. He now has a total of 8 home runs. And the right-hand hitter takes a strike, and the count 0-1. For the Alex Guerrero Marching and Chowder Society, he hits his 3rd pinch hit home run, 7 RBIs as a pinch hitter. He has 20 with 8 home runs, and strokes a high changeup into left field for a base hit. Up with the ball is Gomes into second base with a slide. Ahead of the throw is Alex Guerrero. I'll say one thing, he got the lollipop of the pitches. Talk about an apple on a tree. Guerrero going to walk off maybe a burn. Pitch was up. There was not much on it, and he just hit it into left field and turned the single into a leg double. Gomes did everything he could, but the throw was wide of the bag, and Alex was in there. So showing the fact that he's hurting a little bit, and they're going out now to check him out. Nancy Flynn, who is the Dodger trainer, Don Mattingly, Lorenzo Bundy, all out there talking. We'll see just what he did or what he didn't do. Dodgers want to make sure. He went down and touched his left foot or ankle briefly. Nancy is checking it right there. Let's see if we can watch that left foot. The heel bounced. So instead of a slide, it was a very poor slide, and the left heel bounced instead of, just moving along on the ground. Now he kind of says, okay, thumbs up. So give Guerrero the leadoff double, and the batter will be A.J. Ellis. For Alex Guerrero, that is his 5th double. He has a triple and 8 home runs. A.J. Ellis now with Clayton Kershaw on deck. A.J. hitting 116. It's one of the truisms in the game. If you don't play, you just can't play. Well, he understands Yasmani Grandal is off to a tremendous start as the Dodger catcher. Though A.J., the backup catcher, playing maybe once a week. Teheran ready and then backs off the rubber. Throws to first. Safe, says first base umpire Paul Nauert. Braves hoping that somehow Guerrero might have missed the bag. Kershaw on deck and Ellis checking in. A.J. goes to right field a lot. With Teheran, let's see what he does. The hard-throwing right-hander delivers and starts him with a slider for a strike, and the count 0-1. No runs, 2 hits for the Dodgers, nothing across for the Braves. If you go back to the division series in 2013, the Dodgers have now won 5 straight. Throw back in time to pick off Guerrero. You wouldn't think if you have a sore ankle you'd be picked off, because you would figure if you have a sore ankle you're not going to take a big lead. But I guess maybe in his mind, I need a bigger lead because of the sore ankle. But it was a quick play by Simmons to cut in behind him, get him on the right elbow, and he is hung out to dry. The Guerrero picked off. Now all alone out there. Ellis swings, doesn't get a slider, and the count 0-2. Teheran has a lot of good numbers as far as pickoffs are concerned. Strike 2 pitch on the way is high. Coming into this game, he had 17 career pickoffs and only 26 stolen bases allowed. So you get on, that's one thing. Staying on is another problem. The 1-2 pitch on the way, foul back to the screen, good fastball. Still 1-2 to A.J. Ellis. So 1 out in the third, no score. Duran and Kershaw, pretty good baseball answer to push against shove. Duran was the opening day pitcher for the Braves. He beat the Marlins 2-1. So he's tough. Change up, foul back. Still 1-2 the count. One thing for Ellis, having looked at the 93-mile-an-hour fastball, he was really jammed on the changeup. Slow to react. Duran, both feet on the rubber, looks down, turns, hesitates for a second. Now the 1-2 pitch, another off-speed pitch, a change down below at the ankles. 2 balls, 2 strikes. That's an amazing maneuver he has. When he turns on the rubber, he just stops and must be thinking to himself. He turns, he stops, and here he comes. And the next pitch high, ball 3. 3-2. So he's gone 3-2 to a couple of batters. He went 3-2 to Kendrick, Gonzalez, and Turner, and retired all 3 of them. And he's 3-2 to Ellis with Kershaw on deck. 3-2 pitch, and it's a breaking ball low, a change. So Ellis draws a walk. So the Dodgers spinning their wheels a little bit. They had a single in the first inning and ran into a double play. Now you have a double and the hitter picked off, followed by a walk. 1 out, 3rd inning, no score. Clayton can be handy with the bat. He has 1 hit in 20 at bats, shows bunt, drops it foul, and the count 0-1. Kershaw has had 23 plate appearances, including a sacrifice and a couple of walks, and he has struck out 9 times. So for a pitcher, that's pretty good to make that much contact. Lorenzo Bundy now comes down, talking to Kershaw. Back to first goes Ellis. 3rd inning, 1 out, no score. Mattingly alongside of Mark McGuire. We'll see about this play. He's showing bunt, and a throw to first. Ellis back to the bag. Freddie Freeman about 1.5 feet off the corner of the bag, sideways to the plate. Strike 1 pitch. Kershaw gets the bunt on the plate, picked up, throw to second for 1. The throw to first, double play, and what a play by Simmons. Simmons jumped over Ellis and threw to first to get the double play. So the bunt right on top of the plate like a poached egg, and Bethancourt's going to reach down, pick it up. Now watch Simmons. The throw for 1, and he's going to go up and avoid. Look better in real time. At the end of 3, no score. Challenger with an EPA estimated 30 highway MPG. This car was made for driving in California. Visit Dodge.com today. Sunset time in Los Angeles. We look like we have some golden feathers up there in the sky. No score in the ball game. Clayton Kershaw, Julio Teheran. They're showing some of those golden feathers on both boards. They were so rather extraordinary. So Peterson, Maben, and Freeman in that order. And Kershaw, who's retired 9 in a row, going to work. The Giants are leading the Brewers 6-3 in the 8th inning. Bumgarner came out after 6 innings. He had made 99 pitches. Peterson, very impressive at second base. A bunt right back to Kershaw. Ten in a row retired by Clayton. Cameron Maben coming up. Cameron Maben coming into the game against Kershaw, 2 for 24, and he popped up. So 2 for 25. He's down around 75 cents. The only fella with good numbers, Freddie Freeman, came in 2 for 6 with a home run. Ball 1. Clayton Kershaw, the 6th pitcher since 1900. He has 100 or more wins, 1,500 or more strikeouts, and he's done it within 7 years of his debut. Little ground ball. Turner. Maben staying at the plate, so apparently he got a piece of it. A.J. Ellis questioning Dana Demuth's call. And let's see. Dana is pointing to the ground. So the plate umpire, at first I thought maybe he had fouled it off, and it looks like it might have got him off the toe. He starts to run, then he stops. Dana Demuth has had a long, wonderful record as a major league umpire, 31 years in the big leagues. He's done some big ones, the World Series, 93, 98, 01, 09, and 2 years ago. So he's just looking to see if anybody looking in saw the pitch do anything differently than what he saw. And he's saying, nope. He foul tipped it off his foot. Take another look. Just off the inside of, let's say, the big toe on the right foot. As the toe there, the foot turns, and that's where it got him. So it's a good call by the plate umpire. They certainly deserve pats on the back in this highly technical age in which we live. 1-1 to Maben. Breaking ball lined at Turner. So the slow breaking ball is straightened out, but a bullet at Turner, and we have 2 down. Freddie Freeman, who struck out in the 1st inning, coming up. We were talking about Kershaw, the 6th pitcher, etc. Who are the others? Well, you start with Walter Johnson. 0-1. Walter Johnson, Ferguson, Jenkins, Tom Seaver, Bert Blyleven, Pedro Martinez, and now Clayton Kershaw. Bounces that one. 1 ball and 1 strike. 2 down. The Dodgers don't load up, but they do have Howie Kendrick 15-20 feet out in shallow right field. Infield swung way around to first. Freddie Freeman, a flat out good hitter, local boy. 1 ball and 1 strike. And that's a little low. Freeman this year, to give you an indication, hitting over 400 with runners in scoring position. That runs the count to 3-1. started all of his team's games last year. Hunter Pence, Starlin Castro, the other two who did the same thing. 3-1. Freddie is a big man. He's 6'5", 225. Lives in Orange. Born in Fountain Valley. El Modena High School. And reached for and fouled away at 94. Freeman has really reached a great stature over the last 3 years. 4th in the majors, hitting with runners in scoring position and 2 out. That's the toughest at bat ever, hitting .333 under those conditions. And down he goes with the bases empty. So Freeman strikes out a second time. You know what's going on here. People are starting to wonder. Through 4 innings, Kershaw has faced 12. And at the end of 3.5 innings, no score, no hits. Sure to receive your very own Dodger coaster set presented by Arco. The first 40,000 fans in attendance will get theirs when the Dodgers face the Braves tomorrow night. For more information, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. It will be Wood and Greinke tomorrow night. But right now, center stage, Clayton Kershaw has retired 12 in a row, striking out 4. And we go to the bottom of the 4th. No runs, no hits for the Braves. No runs, 2 hits for the Dodgers. Peterson, Rollins, and Kendrick. Off speed changeup. Jock going after it. 0-1. It was out of the strike zone, but coming up there at 78, no doubt looked a little bit bigger than a big softball. Maybe a basketball. 0-1. And that's going to be hit off the glove of Simmons. Picked up by Maben. So Peterson gets one with a little leather on it, and Simmons annoyed that he could not have caught it. And the Dodgers come up with their 3rd hit. Up he goes and off the glove. So the Dodgers had Guerrero lead off in the 3rd inning with a double, and he was picked off. Now Peterson leads off with a single off Simmons' glove. Rollins, Kendrick, and Gonzalez coming up. Fastball shoots in there. 0-1. Left-hand batters, and of course Jimmy switches, and as a left-handed batter he joins the group hitting better than .360 against Tehran. Just off the corner. Boy, he doesn't miss by much. 1 ball and 1 strike. One and one. Line drive, foul. We should point out Tehran has allowed 9 home runs. 7 of the 9 have been hit on the road. On the road, the opposition batting average is .349. At home, .200. Jimmy Rollins came into the game 7 for 22. That'll be a .318 batting average, and he's 1 for 1. On the hands, popped up. It will be Hoon. Simmons. Ball is turned into a force play, and let's see if they're going to rule it against the batter. Nope, they're going to rule it a force play. So you could tell that Simmons was thinking about something.
Number 47.
Peterson had nowhere to go. And I will say Simmons did a good job of making believe he dropped it. A lot of times they catch it and drop it, but he did a good job of faking. He's telling his second baseman, get out of the way. Yeah, you see that? Now there's the force play. However, to the credit of Jimmy Rollins, he didn't give up. He popped it up, threw the bat away, but then started to first base, and that way they were not able to double him up. So Simmons was thinking, throw to first, Jimmy back. That might backfire on the Braves, because certainly if you had to give up an out, you would rather have Rollins at first because of his experience stealing bases, and Peterson is back in the dugout. In the dirt, shot down there, no good. Bethancourt and Simmons trying to help Tehran get out of it. So Rollins technically hitting into a force play. Simmons getting the put out. 1 ball and no strikes. That's going to go down the line, foul and out of play. Rollins has stolen 5 bases, and of course Jimmy, with his experience, has stolen hundreds of bases. In fact, he's had as many as 46 and 47. So when you take young Peterson off the base paths and allow Rollins aboard, you're actually doing the Dodgers a favor. Another foul ball. Of course, what Simmons was hoping for is that Rollins, popping up in frustration, would just kind of walk down the line, and then he might have had a shot at a double play. But Jimmy was not about to do that. So everybody thinking down there, 1 out, 4th inning, no score. 1 and 2. Another foul ball. Remember, in the first inning, they ran Rollins 3 and 2. Kendrick struck out, and Jimmy was thrown out by Bethancourt. One and 2 to Howie Kendrick. Adrian Gonzalez on deck. 1 out. And a drive to the gap in left center. There's nobody there. It's going to go to the wall. Here comes Rollins. He will score without a play on a long double by Howie Kendrick. Interesting that the Braves hurried the throw by Simmons, not to the plate. He threw it to third, thinking that perhaps Kendrick would try to stretch it, but Howie, with the play in front of him, stopped at second base. The Kendrick doubles in Rollins. Dodgers take a 1-0 lead. And now the batter, Adrian Gonzalez. High throw, and actually with Siriaco bumping into Lorenzo Bundy. Off the plate, ball 1. So it's the right-hand batter, Howie Kendrick, who knocks in the run instead of the left-hand hitters who are wearing out Tehran. 1-0 Braves, 4th inning. Pickoff play, not in time. They got Guerrero, but not Kendrick. Here's the pickoff effort, not in time. Change up. Well, it looked like a change. Wow, 91. 2 balls and no strikes. Now they decided to put Gonzalez aboard, and they'll take their chances with Turner. For Tehran, that would be the second walk he has given up. He's given up 4 hits and 1 run. He has 1 strikeout. So with 2 on and 1 out, here's Justin Turner, who flied to center in the 2nd inning. Oh, they have a picture of a baby crying her heart out on the screen. That's why the crowd reacted in the background, but just a quick glimpse of her. One run, 4 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, no hits for the Braves. 2 on, 1 out. That's going to go down the line foul. 0-1. Fastball sliced into right field. That's going to fall for a base hit. Markakis over to get it. Scoring is Kendrick. Gonzalez to third, and the Dodgers lead 2-0. So Justin Turner, a timely base hit to right field. Pretty good fastball. He stayed inside of it, as the hitters say. Sliced it for a base hit. Markakis, fine defensive outfielder. So Turner picks up a run batted in, his 18th. Kendrick scores, and it is 2-0 Dodgers here in the 4th, and Gonzalez at third with 1 out. Andre Ethier grounded to second in the 2nd inning. Ethier over the last 2 weeks hitting close to 370. 0 for 1 tonight. A change. Ball 1. Tehran, who throws hard, checking with a runner at third. No wild pitches. If that'll get you good luck. Kike Hernandez. 1 ball and no strikes. And a line drive down the right field line, just inside the chalk. Still alive down at the wall. Already scoring is Gonzalez. Here comes a throw to the plate. Scoring is Turner. And the Dodgers lead 4-0 on a double by Andre Ethier. Ethier hitting that double down the right field line, and the ball stayed on the curve. instead of coming quickly back to Markakis, it stayed on the curve of the wall, and that gave the Dodgers a little more time to score 2. Here it is, dropping a good foot inside. Now it just stays right along instead of coming way back. So Markakis, who's the right fielder, it took him a while to get over and get the ball. So it is a 4-run inning. Dodgers now leading 4-0. Alex Guerrero coming up. So in the inning, Rollins scored, Kendrick scored, Gonzalez scored, Turner scored. And here's Guerrero, who doubled and was picked off second base. Ethier at second with 1 out. Ball 1. Fastball down and away. When the Braves come up in the 5th inning, they'll have Markakis, Gomes, and Simmons. Fastball again. 1 ball and 1 strike. Giants are winning. The Dodgers are winning. The day began. Dodgers holding on to a 2-game winning streak. And for Clayton, so far so good. He's retired 12 in a row. And the rub continues. Off speed. Guerrero going after that change. 1-2. For Tehran, shows that he's still not a mature pitcher. We told you he's coming up 24, but he's making mistakes that an older pitcher doesn't figure to make with his ability. 4 of the Dodgers' 6 hits have come where the hitter is behind in the count. And you usually punish that hitter if you have the edge on him. By the way, the Giants just beat the Brewers 6-3. 2-2. Guerrero, the 7th man to come to the plate. We have 1 out. A.J. Ellis on deck. Down and away with the slider. So it's another 3-ball count. Julio Tehran from Cartagena in Colombia. Fastball hit late and foul and out of play. Battle for that one. Three and two. Fastball, another foul ball, and very doubtful, out of play. Julio Tehran turned down offers from other ball clubs, notably the Yankees, and he signed with the Braves. One of the scouts who signed him was his cousin, Miguel. That probably contributed a bit to why he went to Atlanta instead of New York. He's been the Braves' #1 prospect 3 years in a row before he finally arrived. Fastball. Though AJ's getting the hard, Guerrero's getting the hard stuff as AJ watches. 3-2 the count again. 3-2. Down and away. So Guerrero draws a walk. That brings up Ellis, the 8th man to come up in the inning.
Number 17, A.J. Ellis.
2 walks in the inning, 3 walks in the game, and Teheran now has made 68 pitches. That means 28 pitches here in the 4th inning alone. A.J. with Clayton Kershaw on deck. Four runs, 6 hits for the Dodgers, no runs, no hits for the Braves in the 4th. Fastball, a big chopper inside the line. So scoring easily is Ethier. Coming to third is Guerrero. Here comes the relay to the plate. He is out at the plate. The run scores. All the way to third goes Ellis, and the Dodgers lead 5-0. Take another look. Big bouncer inside the chalk. Johnny Gomes going over in the corner to get it. Knows he has a play at the plate. And Simmons throw to the plate right on the money for the tag on Alex Guerrero. So Ellis winds up with a double. Guerrero out at the plate. Ethier scores. And the hit parade continues for the Dodgers. 5 runs in the inning on 5 hits. So A.J. now at third with the RBI, and here's Kershaw with 2 out. Ball 1. So Teheran, they told us, coming off the best game of the year for him against Milwaukee, but having a lot of problems here. Fastball, and that's going to go into right center for a base hit. So Kershaw picks up an RBI. It is a 6-run inning, and the Dodgers have broken the game wide open. However, there is a tremendous amount of interest. Remember, through 4 innings, no runs, no hits for Atlanta. So Kershaw, the 9th man to come up, gets a base hit and a run. Clayton getting a pitch down on the outside part. Teheran going through demons out there, so annoyed over the base hit. Eric Stoltz, who at one time was with the Dodgers, throwing in the Atlanta bullpen. There's Eric. 6 runs, 8 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, no hits for the Braves. Change up. Ball 1. So Jock Peterson singled to short off the tips of the glove of Andrelton Simmons. They're not holding Kershaw. Ground ball, backhanded by Peterson. Juggles, recovers, and gets him. So one Peterson throws out another. But for the Dodgers, a huge 6-run inning. Teheran walking off the field. by Julio Teheran, and they whack quite a few of them around. 6 runs, 6 hits, break the game wide open. Teheran has now made 73 pitches. The Dodgers, shockingly tonight, are 4 for 4 with runners in scoring position. We use that word shocking because in the last 9 games they're anything but. They're 4 and 5, hitting .102. First pitch in for a strike to Nick Markakis. Fly to left field in the 2nd inning. Fastball in for a strike. No one's going to walk out on a 6-0 lead in the 5th inning. One ball and 1 strike. Fastball missed. 2-1. Fastball line to left field. Base hit. Well, they might start walking out now. In other words, 6-0, and Kershaw's got a no-hitter. Nobody's moving. But Markakis singles to left for hit number 1. And the batter is Johnny Gomes. Fastball down outside part. Nick just went with it. That's his 50th hit, by the way. So hit number 1. Now the batter is Gomes, who struck out in the 2nd inning. Fastball at 94, but he missed. 1 ball and no strikes. Giants won 6-3. Dodgers lead 6-0. Ball 2. Two balls and no strikes to Johnny Gomes. That's a strike. Johnny had just one option for college baseball. He played at Casa Grande High School, went to Santa Rosa Junior College, had to talk his way onto the team, and after 2 years, no one even talking about scholarship, John actually planned on joining the Marines. And a fly ball down the line, a trio of Dodgers, and it will be Guerrero. So 1 out in the 5th. Markakis holding.
Number 19, Andrelton Simmons.
Andrelton Simmons grounded to short in the 2nd inning, 0 for 1. Remember, in the 4th inning, he used his head on a pop fly. He dropped it intentionally. They got the force play. But what he did, he removed Peterson, who has speed but no experience, and Rollins would not run out at pop fly and run into a double play. So John hustled down the line, and that changed the whole inning. Strike. Simmons grounded out, 0 for 1. Final game of the series and the final game of the homestand. Alex Wood will be on the mound for the Braves. Zach Greinke for the Dodgers. Greinke is 5-1. He could easily be 7-0. He's been that brilliant. No balls and 2 strikes to Simmons. One and 2. Simmons, another young player, 25 years old. He's only been a pro for 4 years, and he's actually played a bit in 2012, last year, and of course this year, out of western Oklahoma State by way of Curacao, Kenley Jansen's home digs. Fastball, line drive, base hit. Kershaw jumps in the air, so he was annoyed over the base hit. Remember, we saw how Tehran acted when Clayton got the base hit. Kershaw delivers. Oh, no. So, first and second with 1 out. Pedro Ciriaco coming up. Ciriaco has gotten more publicity the last 2 days than in his young career. Everybody trying to figure out why Callaspos is in the starting lineup and then Ciriaco plays. Been a lot of talk about trade, but it's only been talk. Ball 1. From San Pedro de Macorís, originally signed by the D-backs. They say his dad played a lot of ball in the Dominican. His father was a shortstop and an outfielder, and he'd go and just watch Dad play. At the knuckles again, ball 2, and AJ out to talk. One out. Dodgers had that big 6-run inning, and we're now in the 5th inning after having pitched a perfect 4 innings, retiring 12 in a row. Kershaw gave up the base hit to Markakis, and then after the fly ball, gives up another base hit. Two and 0 the count. Ciriaco, among other things, is a pretty good bunter. Right. 2-1. One of the things that perhaps contributed to Kershaw's frustration and why he jumped in the air like that, the count on Simmons, 1 ball and 2 strikes. And ground ball to the hole, smothered by Kendrick. Got him at first. Big play by Howie. Otherwise, Ciriaco loads the bases for Bethancourt. Now we're wondering, will the Braves argue and have an official review? They're waiting to see whether it's worth arguing about. Here's the wonderful stop by Kendrick. The throw, Ciriaco diving. And now Freddie goes back into the dugout. So apparently they do not have a case. Close enough to look, though. What it made it very tough, too, was Paul Nauert in foul ground. Ciriaco back in the dugout. 2 out. Otherwise, bases are loaded with 1 out. That big play by Howie Kendrick. Bethancourt hit back to the box in the 3rd inning. 0-1. Take another look at that play at first. Watch the hands. See the ball. Wow. Ciriaco looking up at Paul Nauert. So a big play by Howie Kendrick, much to the relief of Clayton Kershaw. Strike 1 pitch to Bethancourt. Off speed, and he missed with the changeup. 1-1. just float that thing up there, but it stayed up. EY Jr. Eric Young, switch hitter, out on deck to bat for Tehran. Another off-speed pitch. 1-2. Kershaw has struck out 4. Bethancourt, the regular catcher for the Braves for about 3 weeks last year when Evan Gattis was on the DL. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Got him. So the changes. Finally, he went to the muscle with the fastball. 5 strikeouts for Clayton. And for the Braves, no runs, 2 hits, 2 left. The big play by Howie Kendrick. 6-0 Dodgers. You buy your Southern California Toyota dealers. Save big on any 2015 Camry now at the Toyota Time Sales Event. Dodgers with a big 4th inning. 10 men came to the plate. 6 came home to roost. And the Dodgers lead 6-0 as they go to the bottom of the 5th inning. Jimmy Rollins, Howie Kendrick, and then Adrian Gonzalez. Julio Tehran is still out on the mound. He's due to lead off in the 6th inning. Rollins, an infield single, hit into a force play on the purposely dropped pop fly by Simmons. Change up for a strike. 0-1. Six runs, 8 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 2 hits for Atlanta. The Dodgers overwhelming Tehran in the 4th inning. They had 3 doubles and a couple of singles, and for good measure 2 walks. High fly ball, that's all it is. Markakis, 1 away. And that'll bring up Howie Kendrick.
Howie Kendrick.
The Braves struggling against the good teams. They came in here having lost 11 out of 15 against opponents with a .500 or better winning percentage. They're trying to catch Washington. Freddie knows he has his hands full there. They've won 1 of 6 against the Nationals. 0-1. because then you pit them against a team like Miami. They've beaten the Marlins 7 out of 9. The Mets have beaten them 4 out of 6. So they have their hands full at 4.5 back. 1-2. Slightly good news for Atlanta, although it doesn't figure tonight. But the Cubs pulled one out and beat the Nationals 3-2. And that's going to go foul. By the way, the Cubs began the day 4.5 back of the Cardinals. St. Louis, that'll be the Dodgers' first stop on the road trip. Foul back. Still 1-2. Dodgers trying to beat Atlanta 8 of the last 9 times and 5 in a row. That's going all the way back to the division series in 2013. Another foul ball. What Freddie Gonzalez has to worry about, of course, the Braves are so erratic. They began the year winning 6 and losing 1. Turned right around and did a nosedive, went 9 and 18, only to correct and win 7 of the next 9, only to come here. Chopper up the middle, diving try by Simmons. Kendrick aboard with his second hit. So Howie has a double and a single after striking out in the first inning. Off the glove of Teheran, off the glove of Simmons, and on out into center field. So Kendrick aboard, and here's Adrian Gonzalez. Adrian hit back to the box, was intentionally walked, and scored on the double by Andre Ethier. Bethancourt about ready to go back. Timeout for the moment. Now he'll start. And a strike. 0-1. Off speed, high drive to left field. Gomes going back. This one has a chance. It's gone. And there it is for Adrian. Wouldn't you know, he'd hit a home run. A 2 RBI home run to give him 1,001 in his career. A lot of RBIs. So the Dodgers now lead 8-0. Here's the announcement for Adrian Gonzalez. 1,001 career RBIs. Crowd would like him, I think, to stand up, except the roar. He's busy getting 5s from his teammates and a hug from Yasiel, and that will do it for Teheran. For Teheran, after a great game against Milwaukee, and now Adrian has to be almost exhorted up there to make sure. So 8-0 in favor of the Dodgers. We will be back. moment when Adrian Gonzalez connects. And, of course, he hits it out with a man aboard to give him his 10th home run. But more importantly, 2 RBIs to give him 1,001 in his career. Eric Stultz, formerly a Dodger, working to Justin Turner. Eric signed by the Dodgers in 2002. He went to Bethel College in Indiana. He's a Hoosier all the way, born in Plymouth, lives in Argos. First made it to the Dodgers in 2006. Came back again in 7 and 8 and 9. Went down to the minors, and the next time he came up was 11 with the Rockies. He's pitched with the Rockies and the White Sox and the Padres and now the Braves. Eric Stultz. Eric will be 36 in December. Ground ball wide to third. Smother there at third. Nice play by Siriaco to get him. So Turner losing a base hit.
Number 16.
2 down, and Andre Ethier coming up. Andre Ethier grounded out and double to right to drive in 2. By the way, and it's certainly something I'm sure Roger McDowell, the pitching coach of the Braves, will talk to Julio Teheran about it. 6 of the 10 hits that Teheran gave up, he was out in front in the count against the batter. So no way you're supposed to give up 6 of 10 hits when you're out in front. But another lesson learned by a fine young pitcher. You'll hear a lot more about him. He came in 4-1 and a 14-game winner last year. 0-1 to Andre Ethier. Fastball hit to left field, sinking, a diving catch by Johnny Gomes. A nice play by John to take a hit away from Ethier, and the Dodgers have to settle for a deuce. A big 2, however. It was Adrian Gonzalez' 10th home run of the year and 1,001 RBIs in his career. 8-0 Dodgers. Maury Wills picked up his 2,000th base hit in a losing cause against the Giants. Maury wound up with over 21 base hits and, of course, 490 stolen bases. He had 5 years in a row he stole 50. And, of course, 1962, that was the incredible year when he stole over 100. Let's go back to this one. Oh, and 1 the count to Eric Stultz. Guys are in a hurry to get this underway. We wanted to talk a little bit more about Maury, all-time franchise leader with 490 stolen bases, 14 years in the big leagues, all but 3 with the Dodgers. 1 year in 1962, that was the year he stole 104 bases. But that year he also had 208 base hits. Wills is 4th on the all-time Dodger hit list here in Los Angeles. Only Willie Davis, Steve Garvey, and Bill Russell had more hits during their careers. The mouse that roared, that was what we called him way back in 71 and 62. Maury Wills. 6 strikeouts for Clayton Kershaw. That's a strike. Peterson struck out, hit back to the box. Kershaw had a perfect 4 innings, and Markakis then singled cleanly to left to break the spell. Big slow curveball, 1-1. Clayton came in 2-3, 1-0 this year. This would be his 5th start against Atlanta at Dodger Stadium. That one game that he won 1-0 right here. By the way, the Houston Astros won their 30th game tonight. Wow. Beat Baltimore 4-1. The Astros are the first team in the major leagues to reach 30 wins. It's also the first time in franchise history. Later tonight, the Cardinals join the 30-win club. When you think about the Astros, what an incredible climb. Last year they won 70 games. 2 years ago they only won 51 games. And they've gotten 30 so far. That'll do it for Peterson. That's 3 strikeouts in a row. 7 strikeouts for Clayton. And Cameron Maybin coming up.
Number 25, Cameron Maybin.
Good fastball, just overcome. 8 runs, 10 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 2 hits for the Braves. Cameron Maybin popped up, lined out to third. Hardest hit ball hit tonight by the Braves. A bullet right at Justin Turner. Cameron had a 9-game hitting streak and last night 0-2. Don't forget, it's Wood and Greinke tomorrow night. Dodgers trying to win their 21st game at home. Fouled away. The Cardinals, by winning tonight, they're 30-16, and they are 17-5 at home. So the Dodgers have a little better home record than the Cardinals. However, Cardinals are above 500 on the road, and the Dodgers are not. And there's a line drive by Kendrick into center field. So Maybin, who had the streak snapped, now gets a base hit to try to start another.
Number 5, Freddie Freeman.
Freddie Freeman coming up. Hit number 3 for Atlanta. Freeman has struck out twice. Struck out once last night, but he also had 2 base hits. Fouled away. 0-1. Dodgers trying to make it 5 straight against Atlanta, going back to the division series 2 years ago, and overall 8 out of 9. 1 ball, 1 strike. For the Braves, they hang around 500. They've been just above, and they've been even, and they'll go below tonight. Or that good overhand breaking ball after those 90-mile-an-hour fastballs. 1 and 2. Up there, down there. What a pitch. Check. They're going to no swing. Mike Estabrook right on the line. 2 and 2 to count to Freddie Freeman. Freeman striking out twice tonight, has struck out 42 times. But he's had a lot of at-bats. About 485. He's an everyday player. Bad ball way inside. That's that big overhand slow curve. So Freeman strikes out 3 times. Kershaw has 8 strikeouts. Take a look not only at the pitch, but where it is. Here's the last pitch to Freddie Freeman, and it wasn't close to being a strike. 8-0 in favor of the Dodgers. Inning be one of the first 40,000 fans in attendance June 4th. Receive a Kenley Jansen bobblehead presented by State Farm. For more information, go to Dodgers.com/promotions. Alex Guerrero followed by A.J. Ellis and then Clayton Kershaw. Guerrero has doubled and walked, picked off second base. Foul ball. 0-1. Alan Wood be on the mound tomorrow night trying to salvage 1 of 3. He is 2-2 with the Braves. An ERA of 3.8. Wood has allowed only 2 home runs, but the opposition is hitting over 300 against him. The Dodgers will counter with Zach Greinke, who's been brilliant, an ERA of 1.4. And the opposition hitting 187 against Greinke. So the Dodgers trying to leave here after another very good homestand against some pretty good teams. And they'll now venture out against the St. Louis Cardinals, a very good team. So Guerrero is fooled. Down he goes. Stoltz picks up a strikeout. And the batter, A.J. Ellis, who walked and doubled the left.
Ball one. Braves have 3 hits after being thoroughly pushed around in 4 innings, 12 in a row out. Markakis singled, 1 out later. Simmons singled. Siriaco was robbed of a hit on a dazzling play by Kendrick, so what might have been a rally was snuffed out. And that's it. Braves with a total of 3 hits and nothing to show for it. They've gotten 1 man to third base. Meanwhile, the Dodgers, 6 runs in the 4th, 2 in the 5th. For Don Mattingly, his club is on its way to its 28th victory and remains 2 in front of San Francisco. That'll be Peterson. 2 out here in the 6th. Clayton Kershaw topped the ball, turned into a double play, and then next time up single to drive in a run. And a strike. Stoltz basically fastball, curve. He has a cutter and a change. 1 and 2. For a long time, Stoltz, a very good athlete and out of Indiana, so he thought his future was in basketball. Little ground ball to short. Simmons. Kershaw, despite the fact it's 8-0, hustling down the line. Dodgers go out in order, and at the end of 6, 8-0 Dodgers. Is brought to you by Nissan. Get to Nissan's ride of your life for exciting performance and surprising offer. Shop at ChooseNissan.com. And by DraftKings. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Use promo code BlueCrew for free entry. 8-0 Dodgers, 7th inning. On the next episode of Backstage Dodgers, our cameras followed Clayton Kershaw, A.J. Ellis, and Don Mattingly. They visited Alcatraz. Also, we take a look behind the scenes of the series with the Padres. So don't miss Backstage Dodgers Thursday at 7 on Sportsnet LA. Well, we mentioned that they had just won their 30th. That would be the St. Louis Cardinals, first National League club to do it. They beat the D-backs 6-4. And certainly a note, no player in the modern era had ever done what Toronto's Josh Donaldson did tonight. The Blue Jays beat up the White Sox 10-9. What did Donaldson do? He had 4 hits. He scored 5 runs. He had 2 home runs, including the walk-off home run to give Toronto the victory. Quite a night for Josh Donaldson. 0-2 to Markakis. He flied to left and single to left. Kershaw has now made 87 pitches. 5th inning, he made 20 pitches. But that was after he sat around while the Dodgers were piling up the 6 runs. 1-2. Dodgers are kind of standing up and restlessly moving around in the bullpen. Line drive, fair ball down in the corner. Looked like a pitch up, and Markakis comes up with his 2nd hit, a double down the line. So Nick, a very good hitter, and as we repeat, because you wonder, take first of all a look, the pitch is up there and he slaps it to left for his 2nd hit. He has 51 hits, no home runs. Again, coming off very serious neck surgery. 325 doubles. Remember, we told you about doubles. That should be his middle name. Johnny Gomes struck out, fly to left. One thing about Kershaw tonight especially, off speed, the changeup, 0-2. The base hits have all gone basically to left field. Markakis, a left-hand batter, has single to left and double to left. Maben's base hit was up the middle. Fastball just missed. Boy, with 2 strikes, a lot of discipline to take that pitch. Unless you were so locked in you couldn't do anything about it anyway. In the dirt, gets between the legs of Ellis to the backstop. So on what we assume is a wild pitch, Markakis to third. Went right under the right elbow to the backstop. So it is a wild pitch. Markakis at third. 2nd time that Atlanta has a runner at third. Markakis did it in the 5th inning. So he's the only one to do it, and he's done it twice. Two and two. And that's a big swing and a miss for Gomes. 9 strikeouts for Clayton Kershaw. Well, as we mentioned earlier, he is at that stage of his career. His greatest opponent is himself. And he is certainly doing a number on himself. 9 strikeouts, no walks, 4 hits, no runs. Here's Simmons, grounded to short, single to left. Fastball in there. So he's made 95 pitches. One out, 7th inning, 8-0 Dodgers. Clayton made 99 pitches in the game against Madison Bumgarner that he lost, going 7 1/3. The highest pitch count for him, back-to-back games against Colorado, 110 pitches. One ball, one strike. 1-2. Simmons 1 for 2, hitting .251. Fastball, but a low and away. So instead of the high hard one, the hard low one. 2-2. The tag at the plate, no reason to throw to first. So Simmons strikes out. He becomes the 10th strikeout for Clayton. And Siriaco coming up. Take a look. There and then down there. The Kershaw with great stuff. He usually has great stuff, but when he's throwing strikes, virtually unbeatable. Siriaco tried to bunt his way aboard. Little ground foul. Next time up, with 2 on and 1 out, he had a ground ball that looked like it was going to go through to the outfield. Howie Kendrick made a diving, smothering stop and threw him out. So instead of loading the bases, it put runners at second and third with 2 out, and Bethancourt struck out. Ground ball wide at third. Turner. So Kershaw picks up the 3rd out here in the 7th. Markakis stays at 3rd, and at the end of 6.5 innings, Dodgers 8, Atlanta Eaton. 8-0 in favor of the Dodgers. Bottom of the 7th inning. 8 runs, 10 hits. You know how good Clayton Kershaw is? Not only striking out 10, not walking anybody. As Peterson, meanwhile, gets a base hit to center field. Clayton Kershaw, through 7 innings, has had 1 3-ball count. 1. I mean, that is remarkable. But he is remarkable. Peterson, meanwhile, comes up with his 2nd hit, and the batter will be Jimmy Rollins. Rollins, infield single, hit into a force play, fly to right. Force play was the drop pop fly on purpose by Simmons. 0-1. One ball and 1 strike. Ground ball to short. Simmons to Peterson to Freeman. So Rollins bangs into the double play, 2 down, and the batter will be Howie Kendrick.
Number 47, Howie Kendrick.
When the Braves come up in the 8th inning, they will have the catcher Christian Bethancourt. They might even use Stultz and keep him in the game. Among other things, Eric is a pretty good hitter, just to keep the bullpen rested. Ground ball to Jace Peterson. So Stultz gets himself a quick 1-2-3 inning, and he has retired with the base hit. He's only faced 1 man above. Clayton Kershaw, time to go back to work, leading 8-0. He heads to the mound for the 8th inning or the clubhouse, and he's heading for the clubhouse. Can be summed up in one word: Dodgers. I mean, 8 runs, 11 hits, and the Braves nothing. Howie Kendrick, single, double, RBI, scored a couple. Adrian Gonzalez, the most dramatic hit. That was his 2-run home run to give him 1,001 career RBIs. Andre Ethier had a double with a couple of ribbies. And, of course, Clayton Kershaw went 7 and struck out 10. So it's been all Dodgers. J.P. Howell now will pick up and face the catcher Christian Bethancourt. And as we surmised, Eric Stultz is out on deck. Freddie going to save his bullpen and Stults is not a bad hitter anyway. JP, ERA less than 1. 0-1. Bethancourt hit back to the box and struck out. Struck out with runners at second and third in the 5th inning. That's the closest Atlanta has scored. In the 6th inning, Kershaw struck out the side, and in the 7th inning, Markakis doubled and got to third, and Gomes and Simmons struck out. 1-1. JP, his last game was Sunday against San Diego. His last win against Miami. His last save way back at Baltimore. The big thing about J.P. Howell, he scored scoreless relief now. 14 of 15 appearances, including 12 straight during April. 2-1. And a fly ball, very playable. Peterson and Ethier.
Number 37.
Ethier and Peterson seem to have a very good time with each other in the dugout and especially in the outfield. So 1 out. Here's Eric Stults. Stults struck out. That was against Kershaw when Clayton struck out the side. 0-1. Breaking ball missing. 1-1 to count. Dodgers scored 6 runs in the 4th inning. They just turned the lights out on the Braves. Slow roller. Gonzalez. Quick flip. Howell is there. 2 down. A reminder, MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, is celebrating 13 years. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD on over 400 mobile and connected devices. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and so much more. Every night on every device. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. 2 out in the 8th. Here's Jace Peterson. Struck out twice, hit back to the box. Ground ball up the middle. There's Kendrick. The backhand, but he falls down. So Kendrick, as if somebody pulled the rug out from under him.
Number 25.
So it'll go as a base hit for Peterson. There's the stop, and then that right foot just turned over, and down he went. Right there. Almost like there was an oil patch. 2 out. Cameron Maybin. Maybin has popped up, lined out, and singled. Ball 1. The paid attendance tonight on a lovely evening. It was 65 degrees. There's not a zephyr anywhere in sight. That's going to go foul. 1-1. 40,667. Not even close to a breeze. There's proof. 1-1. And another strike. 8 runs, 11 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 5 hits for Atlanta. Braves will go 3 games under 500 on the road. the tip-off on Atlanta, and it's not a knock on them. It's just an indication of a club that's not quite found itself yet. They're being pushed around by the teams with 500 or better records. They'll lose tonight. They lost 12 of 16 against teams 500 or better. 3-2. Freddie Freeman, bad night tonight for a very good hitter. Struck out 3 times. Three and two with 2 down, so Peterson ready to go. And it's ball 4. That is the first walk given up to Atlanta tonight. And a very hungry Freeman, who has struck out 3 straight, checking in. AJ out to talk a little bit. Freddie from Orange, a remarkable hitter and kind of an Iron Man. We talked about he played every game, started every one. He's dynamite with runners in scoring position. Slow curveball dropped in. 0-1. Freeman twice hit 23 home runs back-to-back years. That's on the corner. Two on, 2 out. 8-0 Dodgers. Chased a bad ball, and for Freddie, about as bad a night as he can possibly have. Meanwhile, JP throws his hands in the air. Freeman strikes out 4 times, and at the end of 7.5 innings, 8-0 Dodgers. Bottom of the 8th inning. What's left for the Dodgers? One more game at home. It's tomorrow night. Zach Greinke will be on the mound, and hope you'll be out here with us. Dodgers then will go out to St. Louis and Colorado before coming home to play St. Louis, and that will be like a division series game at least. Bottom of the 8th, 8-0, and a strike. If I saw Freddie Freeman a couple of days from now, when this game is pretty well forgotten, and he's a good-natured fellow who knows the peaks and the valleys of the game, And you might say to him, you know, Freddie, I never realized you were such a good closer. And he would look and say, closer? What do you mean closer? Here's the 1-1 pitch. Ground ball. That should be an out. One down. Yep, tonight, Freddie Freeman is a great closer. With 2 out in the first inning, he struck out. He closed the first inning. In the 4th inning, with 2 out, he struck out. He closed the 4th inning. With 2 out in the 6th inning, would you believe he struck out to close the 6th inning? And in the 8th inning, with 2 out, he closed the 8th. So he closed 4 innings tonight, and we certainly are not making fun of somebody for whom we have tremendous respect. And I'm sure he would enjoy it. Not tonight, however. Freddie gets a hang in there. He'll be in the lineup tomorrow night, you can bet. Sergio Santos throwing in the Dodger bullpen. 1 ball and 1 strike to Justin Turner. And that's hit in the air to center, right at Maben's glove. 2 out in the 8th, and Andre Ethier coming up.
Number 16, Andre Ethier.
Ethier grounded to second, double to right to drive in 2 and fly to left. Easy there, Mom. Easy. Wow. Now you wanted to wave? I'll be honest, you're lucky she doesn't upchuck. Never mind wave. 2 out in the 8th. Ethier a strike. So Eric Stoltz mopping up, and he's done a very good job on his way to working 3 2/3 innings. There's a drive to right, but playable. Markakis is there. All right. So the Dodgers go quietly in the 8th inning, and we are heading for the 9th. Dodgers 8, Braves nothing. Sergio Santos front and center. Player of the game, certainly Clayton Kershaw. Clayton went 7 innings, did not allow a run, allowed 3 hits, no walks. He had 1 3-ball count and struck out 10. He also made a pretty good defensive play as well. So Clayton Kershaw with an assist, a dramatic moment by Adrian Gonzalez, and it's been quite a night for the home club. And it had better be, because the Giants just keep on winning. The Giants won their ball game 6-3 against Milwaukee. Giants are 1 game above 500 at home. Make it 1 game above on the road. Now 2. Dodgers are 4 under on the road. And here is Santos facing Markakis, Gomes, and Simmons. Markakis single to left, double to left. Both of his hits against Kershaw. Strike. Two hits tonight. He has 51 hits. One ball and 1 strike. One and 2. Dodgers concluding the series with Atlanta tomorrow night. Alex Wood with a record of 2-2 against Zach Greinke, who is 5-1 and could easily be 7-0. 1-2. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Boy, that's a rough pitch for a catcher. It wasn't a case of trying to short hop it. It got him a little bit. Ate him up, in fact. Just came up, hit that left shoulder. So they're going to wait a second to make sure. And then AJ, kind of being the catcher that he is, like they all are. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And that's going to be a base hit, the 3rd for Markakis. So Markakis has a good night, goes 3 for 4. And that'll bring up Johnny Gomes. Struck out, flied to left, struck out again, but all those at-bats were against Kershaw. John has some rather intricate tattoos. On the right arm, there's a key, like a key to the city. 0-1. I do know when he lost his closest pal in the automobile accident, he has the initials of his dearest pal. Not obvious to see. In the arena, it says on the forearm. 1 ball and 1 strike. The pride of Petaluma, Johnny Gomes. Looked like a cutter at 93. Eight runs, 11 hits, 1 error. By the way, if you were watching in the 8th inning, remember when Howie Kendrick made a good stop and then fell down? They charged him with an error. 3-1. I'm surprised. Normally, you make a pretty good stop of the ball and you go down. You don't usually expect the player to draw an error, but he got one. Fastball in there. 3-2 to Gomes. Markakis at first, nobody out in the 9th. Dodgers lead 8-0. Markakis holding, and a fly ball to left. Coming up for it is Guerrero. So we have 1 out in the 9th inning. 40,667 dropped by.
Number 19.
The Dodgers so far this year now have drawn about 1,270,000, averaging about 47,000 a game. Andrelton Simmons grounded to short, single to left, and struck out. All of his at-bats were against Clayton. In the dirt, flying all the way to the backstop. So down to second base goes Markakis on the wild pitch. Kershaw for 7, Howell for 1, and now Santos again bouncing it. Remember, he got Ellis on the left shoulder the last time. He's big, and he's also on the wild side. Santos has walked 7. He has 4 wild pitches. He has struck out 15. 6'3", 230. The boy from Bellflower. In there. 2-1. Sergio went to Mater Dei High School. Basically fastball, slider, and a changeup. Fastball hit to center. Peterson will make the catch. Holding is Markakis. And the Braves are down to their last out. Pedro Siriaco coming up. Tried to bunt his way aboard. Kershaw threw him out in the 3rd inning. Robbed of a hit by Howie Kendrick in the 5th inning when they actually had 2 hits against Kershaw in the inning. And then last time up, grounded out. Siriaco, a last-minute replacement for Alberto Callaspo, and no further explanations. Callaspo is in the starting lineup. They take him out. Callaspo was in the starting lineup tonight. They take him out. Lots of talk about trades that didn't work, etc., but nothing concrete to talk about yet. The operative word. Fastball popped in the air to right center. That's Peterson's ball, and that'll do it. For the Braves, no runs a hit. They wind up with 5 hits, and they are totally shut out. Clayton Kershaw the winner, Julio Teheran the loser. It's Wood tomorrow night against Zach Greinke in the final game of the homestand. Hope you'll be out here with us. Talk to you then. Till then, for all of us to all of you, we wish you all a very pleasant good evening, everybody.